People can be the same or different in many ways, in how they look, how they feel, or what they like to do. Being different than one another or having diversity is what makes everyone unique and interesting. You can learn a lot from people who are different from you. In this story, one child doesn't understand why his classmate likes something that he thinks is boring and strange, so he doesn't really talk to her. When he finally takes the time to get to know her, he learns some really interesting things from her. As you listen to this story, pay attention to how the characters react to each other's differences. Okay, class, called Kenny's teacher. I want each of you to answer the question, what was the best part of your weekend? Write your answer in your journal and then share with your buddy. This week, Kenny's buddy was Maddie. Maddie and her twin brother Max were new in the class, and all Kenny knew about her was that she liked reading science books and had a lot of strange things in her backpack, like a magnifying glass and binoculars. When it was time to share their answers, Kenny glanced over and saw that Maddie had written a lot in her journal. "You can go first," he offered. "I had the best weekend," Maddie said excitedly. "My family went to the new space exhibit at the Science Center, and I got to feel a piece of a meteorite that actually crashed into the Earth. I even got this mini telescope," she said, pulling it out from her desk. "Do you want to see it?" We should probably just finish," said Kenny. He wasn't very interested in telescopes or space or hearing about telescopes or space. Okay, said Maddie quietly. "So what was the best part of your weekend?" Kenny told her about playing his new video game. Maddie asked him a lot of questions about the game and what he liked about it. "I've never even played any video games," said Maddie, "but it sounds like fun." As the class finished and put their papers away, Maddie leaned over to Kenny and whispered, "Do you want to sit together at lunch today?" Kenny really didn't want to hear any more about the space exhibit. He wanted to sit with his friends who like video games and tell them all about his new game. "Maybe another day," he answered. Later, on the playground, Kenny walked over to talk to Max. Maddie was with him, looking through her telescope. "That looks so boring," he thought. "Look, Kenny," Maddie called, pointing towards the sky. "You can see the moon right now. Do you want to look at it through my telescope?" "No, that's all right," said Kenny. "I just wanted to ask Max if he was finished with the, the book he borrowed." Max had forgotten to bring Kenny's book again, so he asked Kenny to come over after school so he could return it. That afternoon, Kenny walked home with Max and Maddie. When they got to their house, Max went to his room to look for the book. "This could take a while," said Maddie. "His room is a mess. Let's go find something to do while we wait." Kenny just wanted to go home, but he followed her down the hall to her room. When they walked into Maddie's room, Kenny could hardly believe his eyes. It was like being inside a planetarium. There were stars and moons hanging from the ceiling and a huge picture of the solar system painted on the wall. "This is so cool," he exclaimed. "I like it," agreed Maddie, "but wait till you see it in the dark." Maddie shut her curtains and turned off the lights. Everything glowed in the dark. "Wow," said Kenny, pointing at the solar system. "What's this really big planet?" "That's Jupiter," answered Maddie. "It has a lot of storms, and that red spot on it is a huge hurricane." "Cool," said Kenny. "I have a video game called Space Explorers, and Jupiter is at level 5, but I can't ever get past level 4, so I never play it anymore." Then Kenny stepped a little closer. "Hey, what's this ring of stuff floating next to Jupiter?" "That's the asteroid belt," Maddie explained. "It's mostly chunks of rock and ice, and it orbits around the sun, too, in between Mars and Jupiter." Kenny threw his hands up into the air. "No wonder I can't get past level 4 in my game. Every time I try and fly from Mars to Jupiter, my spaceship crashes into things. It must be hitting rocks in the asteroid belt. You're probably right, Maddie agreed. But I'll bet you could fly over it to make it to level 5. Just then, Max came in to give Kenny his book. Kenny thanked him and then picked up his backpack to go home. Hey, said Maddie, do you want to stay for dinner? We could go outside afterwards and try my new telescope in the dark. There aren't any clouds, so we could probably see lots of stars. Kenny smiled at her. That sounds like fun. I'll call my parents and ask them. After dinner, the kids went outside and took turns looking through the telescope. Maddie showed them how some stars made pictures in the sky called constellations. Kenny decided this wasn't so boring after all. Do you two want to come to my house tomorrow and play Space Explorers? He asked. I bet we could be a really good team. Sure, answered Maddie. Maybe you can teach me how to play some other video games too. Kenny agreed, and the kids spent the rest of the evening looking for planets and stars in the glittering night sky.